And I've been in the Kevin Durant's the best player in basketball for several years camp. Obviously, that changed when he tore his Achilles tendon. We didn't know how he would be when he came back. And I believe we've seen him return to that position. So some people thought LeBron was still the best even when they weren't winning championships because the feeling was Golden State had a better team. I respectfully disagree with that. This is Steve Kerr, an interview with NBC Sports Bay Area.
You played with Michael Jordan, and
I know.
KD
I know. I think he's more gifted. I really do. I mean, that's saying something, but Kevin is a entirely different breed. I mean, 6'11", with guard skills, unlimited three-point range, passing, shot blocking at the rim. It's just stunning. And watching him this year was really, really gratifying to see.
So, look, do I think there's mostly truth to it? Yes. I don't think anything he's saying is inaccurate. Okay? So it's most, but I don't think that's all of what's behind it. One, Steve has said, previously, he said to anybody that, look, I mean, players have evolved. You don't think they're better now. Everything is better now than 25, 30 years ago, except NBA basketball players. That doesn't make any sense. Right? Of course, they're more skilled. They're doing more things at a younger age, and doesn't mean the game is actually better, but the players have more skill. So he believes that to be true, regardless of what he thinks of Jordan. And I think the only way to compare guys of different era is what they did within their era. So I truly, honestly believe he feels that Kevin Durant is better. Okay, is better. Now here's the flip side to it. Okay, the important side to it is that while Kevin Durant clearly has more God-given gifts and talent and skill than anybody previous to him, he didn't say he was a better basketball player. Replay it one more time. This is, again, take a listen to the exact semantics that he said.
You played with Michael Jordan, and
I know.
KD
I know. I think he's more gifted. I really do. I mean, that's saying something, but Kevin is entirely different breed. I mean, 6'11", with guard skills, unlimited three-point range, passing, shot blocking at the rim. It's just stunning. And watching him this year was really, really gratifying to see.
Really, really gratifying to see. I also think that there's a portion of it where, he and KD might not have ended on the best of terms, and he might not have truly enjoyed coaching him. KD probably didn't enjoy playing for him. And so this whole idea of him being better than Jordan is a way of, look, I really appreciate how good the guy actually was, right? I totally understand how good the guy was. And, this is my way of righting something which previously could have been seen as a wrong. I don't think it's crazy talk to say that he's, if you want to use the term more gifted, right? In terms of gifts, he is an exceptionally gifted basketball player, exceptionally gifted. But I also think that it would be fair to say that he didn't say he was a better basketball player. He just said gifted, right? Like at 6'11", he can do all of these different things. Because the follow-up question is, okay, so if you got one game to win, would you rather have Kevin Durant or Michael Jordan? I'm guessing he's going to pick Michael Jordan.
Yeah, isn't it kind of a compliment to say that? Like Jordan did more with less?
Yes. But do you hear the semantics? And I don't know if Steve is trying to use the semantic thing where he's like, look, I think he's more gifted than Jordan. You're talking about 6'11" with guards. Like Michael Jordan was not as gifted as a ball handler. He just wasn't. Now, part of it was a different era, and Kevin Durant is a better rim protector. He's a better rebounder. Jordan became a guy who could and would pass. Wasn't a willing passer for a good portion of his career, but then when they started winning, he tended to make the right play. But he was not a creative passer. All that being said, who would you rather take? I would still rather have Jordan. And I think Kevin Durant's an amazing player. Amazing. So part of it is, this is me, I think Steve Kerr kind of trying to make right in the past. Part of it is falling in line with the narrative that he has uttered for years, which is, hey, these guys are just better than the previous generation. And part of it is he didn't say he's better as a basketball player. He said he's more gifted, right? More God-given gifts. That's the way I view it.
If you take it to the next level, is Kevin Durant more gifted than LeBron?
I think he's more, what you would say is, I would say that he would say he's more skilled. That's generally there's two reasons that NBA players, and I've sat with a couple of Hall of Famers on airplanes or over drinks or over dinner or in studios, and several of the Hall of Famers, they will say like, LeBron's basically the Shaq of like hybrid guard forwards, right? Where he's so physically dominant, and the way in which the game is officiated and played offensively, and you take the power forward out, that there's not the respect for what they call the game. Like, LeBron doesn't have moves, right? Earlier in his career, he had a little bit more, wiggle to his game, but he got so big and so strong and is so good at playing downhill. He's just force of nature, which is what Shaq was like. Shaq was more athletic than any big who's ever played at that size in the NBA, and he's bigger than most anybody's played in the NBA. But part of it was he was just so athletic, he was physically dominant. But the reason that Shaq doesn't get the respect of being a top 5, top 10 all-time great is he was just so physically dominant. I think that's the way people view LeBron James. Yes, John Ramos.
So, I mean, I grew up in the time when you had, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Tree Rollins and those guys in the 80s and 90s. It's these centers just as tall or a little bit less taller than Kevin Durant. And I think you're right. The hybrid part, I mean, I would never think of watching Kareem Abdul-Jabbar dribble down the court and then, shoot a three-pointer, I mean, it just never crossed my mind. He would just set up down low and shoot a skyhook or a rebound. But Kevin Durant, at his height, it really is incredible how much talent and what he can do with the ball that those guys could not do. They just couldn't do. I mean, or maybe if they practiced over time, maybe they could have. I have no idea, but they just weren't looked at to do that. And don't you think so that a guy of his height, bringing the ball down, driving to the hoop, pulling up for three-pointers with ease, that's just not something that you used to look at 7-footers to do back in the 90s or maybe 2000s. I don't know. That's just my feeling of looking at Kevin Durant. And I do agree with you with Steve Kerr. He doesn't ever say he's better. He just said he's, a great, or however he
more
worded
gifted.
it. More gifted.
He's more
yeah.
gifted.
Yeah.
I think he might even be more gifted, I think was the exact verbiage of what he said. Yes, we haven't seen anybody do what he does. We've seen some. There's been some. There's one of the guys that was traded for Scottie Pippen was I think it was Rod Sellers, right? Like he was this type of player. He was a little bit smaller, but it wasn't embraced. He wasn't as skilled. He wasn't as good a shooter. It was a different era. It's a different era. Tom Chambers was big but couldn't handle like this. Could shoot. Seen as a little soft, not as good defensively, but could really score. Could really jump. I would agree. We haven't seen this combination of size, versatility, scoring skill, mentality of just an absolute killer.